Hi everyone, a very warm welcome back to MEC-TEC. We are back out on the driveway today and I'm pleased to say the snow is now gone and it is a little bit warmer. We are in plus degrees now rather than minus, which is always a bonus. I said there'd be a few more videos on the cab coming up. This is the first of them. We're going to be doing the rear shoes on the brakes. It has been squeaking for a little while and I've had the drums off probably about a week ago just to have a little look, and they are wearing very thin, so we've got a new set of shoes to go on there. So I'm going to get the back end of the cab up in the air and I'll set you up when we are down at one of the drums and show you exactly what we've got to do to get the drum off in the first place, and then obviously we'll change all the shoes. And hopefully, fingers crossed, it'll all go back together and be absolutely marvellous. I'll come back to you once I'm set up down there. Right, with the wheel removed, you can obviously see the drum. There is one screw which holds the drum on. Just put my gloves on. This cabs are a bit manky. One screw that holds the drum on just there. That was a little bit loose actually. And what you have to do, see this hole? This hole is for the adjuster. So you have to rotate it round until you're in line with the adjuster inside, and then you can slacken it off with a flat-headed screwdriver, and then that will allow the drum to come off, because otherwise inevitably you're going to get a lip on the back of the drum sort of here, and it won't allow the shoes to pass it very easily, especially if you've got newer shoes. It's not so bad with these ones because they are quite worn down. It's going to be difficult to show you in here, but there's like a little ratchet type thing. I'll show you once I get it off exactly what it is, so you can see what you've got to sort of look for. So I'll get that off and I'll come back to you in a second. Right, I'm going to try and shine a torch in here so you can see it before I adjust it, and hopefully you'll be able to see what I see. Just inside there, it'll focus. Focus inside there, come on. There we go, you see that adjuster in there? That is what you've got to effectively unadjust, because it's a self adjuster, so when you push the pedal it pushes the shoes out. So that is what you've got to look for when you get that hole in line, is those two little teethed parts in there. I know it's a bit hard to see, I'm trying to get it to focus, but it don't want to know. There we go, you can see it there now. So that is what you're looking for. So I'm going to get that unadjusted, we'll get the drum off and I'll come back to you. Right, okay, with the drum off, as you can see there, it's pretty manky inside. Now there's not much of a lip on this, but what I'm going to do is probably run a grind around the inner edge of that, just to obviously aid it with the new shoes that are going to be going on there, so they slide on easier. You can see the material gradually gets less and less and less as it goes down to almost nothing, so they are definitely right on the edge of scraping metal, so that is good that we're changing them. And you can see in there, that is the adjuster. Let me get a torch in there so you can see. That is the adjuster that we've slackened off, so it almost looks like it's about level. Probably see it through there now with the light. Yeah, so the two teeth parts effectively become level, and that obviously allows the shoes to be in enough to get the drum off. So next thing I'm going to do, you can see it's got these two cutouts here on the hub. Obviously this stays on the car, and you have to line those up. One of them is actually a bigger cutout than the other one, so you can get to these spring-loaded bits that hold the shoes on. So I'm going to get those. They're like you have to push the spring in and then twist them, and then it undoes off that little pin in there. We'll get those off, and then we can see how these springs and stuff and everything go. First time I've done shoes on the cab, so it should be a bit of a learning curve for me as well. So I'll come back to you when I've made a bit more progress. Right, brake shoes are off, as you can see. That was the easy bit. Now the hardest bit of getting them off was actually undoing the brake cable. I just could not get that spring to retract enough to get it through the gap on the back of this on there, because it has to go through that little small gap on there. So at least that's off now anyway. So now what we've got to do, you can see the new brake shoes have come bare. So what we've got to do is swap that arm over for the handbrake. That just is on a little split pin in there, or a snap ring, or whatever you want to call it. And also we've got to swap over that adjuster that's on this one as well, which is on the back there, which is again is held in with a snap ring there and a snap ring there. So that is going to be the next job. Also I'm going to obviously give this a good old clean up while I'm in here, because it is absolutely full of brake dust. So I'll do all that, get it all cleaned up, and I'll come back to you once I've swapped those bits over. Right, you would have seen me there putting the handbrake arm on and the adjuster on. Now I've tried to mock this up on the floor to obviously get an idea of how it goes, but it is pretty much impossible to do it on the floor because everything just goes ba-doing everywhere. That is a technical term, by the way. Ba-doing. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to actually try and assemble it on the car in a reverse order of what I took it off as. Obviously I've cleaned all that up on there now, you can see that it's all nice and clean, brake dust's all gone. Same with the drum, cleaned all that up inside there, got all the brake dust off of it, cleaned up all the bits and bobs that hold it on, and the springs and the adjusters and everything else. So it's all looking lovely and clean. I've just got to work out how it goes back on. I've got the other side drum off to reference, so hopefully that will help me out, but I'm going to just sort of try and piece it together and hopefully get it back on again in a little while. From what I can tell looking at the other side, and obviously from what I've filmed, the adjuster, let me just put you on a tripod. We are on a tripod, let me put you down, hang on a sec. The adjuster sort of sits in the back of this hole here, on top of there, and this spring, you sort of have to hook it in first, and then get it so that it sort of stretches into that adjuster. Obviously whilst it's off the car, it's very difficult to keep it all straight, if that makes sense. So I'm going to try and do it on the car and see how I get on, and I'll come back to you in a bit. Right, I'm going to put this out there now. I absolutely detest drum brakes. They are absolutely the work of Satan. It has taken me ages to get that back together with springs. We would have seen in the time lapse, springs flying everywhere and all the rest of it. Now I'm probably doing it wrong. People out there are going to say, well, you should have done it this way, that way and the other. I'm not very good at drum brakes, I would openly admit that now, but they're all back in there. I haven't even tried the drum on yet, but that's going to be the next step, to try the drum on, get them adjusted right, and then hopefully this side will be done. I want to buzz this. It's got a slight lip on the drum. I want to buzz that off with a grinder, just so it's sort of easier to get them on and off in the future. Obviously we'll need replacing when they get a real big lip on them, but we'll know that from the inner edge, because obviously this inner edge has got a very slight lip as well, but when that gets more pronounced then we'll know that there's time for changing them, but they're okay at the moment. So I'm going to get that put back on. As you can see, it's starting to get dark, so we're probably going to be carrying on with this in the morning, because I am absolutely freezing and fed up of doing drum brakes already, and I've only done one side. See you in the morning. Right, it is the next morning and rain has descended, so I've actually got a tarpaulin set up on the side of the cab and onto the wall behind me, luckily. So we are under the tarpaulin, so I apologise for the noise of it blowing about, but there's not a lot I can do about that. Right, we're on the second drum now, so I'm going to get this drum off first of all, and then I will come back to you and show you exactly what I did on the other side. But obviously not on time lapse, so you can actually see what I did, hopefully give you a bit more of an idea how I took it apart and how it went back together, and hopefully this side might go a bit easier, because yesterday was a complete pain. So I'll come back to you when I've got the drum. Right, let's see if we can get this apart. I think the first thing I'm going to do is take off these spring-loaded holders, because obviously that then allows the shoes to move. There's one. Now this is supposedly like a special tool you can use for this. I have always used pliers in the past, but this does seem to work. It's quite a new tool I've got, but with this you just need to rotate this round so that you've got the bigger cutout where the spring is, so you can get to it a bit better. I need to move this light. Can't actually see what I'm doing. Hopefully it won't cause any bars on the screen. You have to sort of put your finger behind the pin so that it doesn't just push it through. And you can push it and twist it and it should unclick if you get it right, which I haven't yet. I just find these a bit of a faff to get off, especially when you're under a tarpaulin on a driveway. So actually there, it's just got a little bit more of a twist to go. Come on. So I'll get the tension right on it so that you can get the twist off. There we go. As it rolls down the drive. Get the pin out, otherwise you'll end up losing that as well. Next thing to take off is this bottom spring. If you take it off, there's like a guide in the middle here which the shoes sit on. Take one side off of that, and then this spring should just pop off very easily like that, and just spring off. Right, with that undone, the rest of it usually just goes boing everywhere. So you can get one side off like that, and then the other side should come off with it, but you've got your handbrake cable attached still, so you unhook this side first. That then releases that shoe completely, and then if you make a note of where the springs go, because I've done the other side, I kept looking at this side, so hopefully I'll get them in the right place. That's the hope anyway. Right, so we've basically got that hanging now off the handbrake cable. Now this, I find, is the trickiest part to get off, is that handbrake cable outside that bracket there. So I'm going to actually pause the video here because this took me a long while to get off before, and to get that out. So basically what you have to do is you have to compress that spring enough that you can get enough of the cable showing underneath there to get it through, to go through this clamp, because there's only enough room in that clamp to get the actual cable itself through, rather than the end, which has got a thicker end on it. So I'm going to get that off, and then I'll come back to you once I've got all this cleaned up and everything else, and we can start fitting the new ones. Let's carry on. Right, I just thought I'd show you. You can see here I've got the cable from where it sits in that little recess round to this side. Now it's in that position. If you can get the spring to retract back a little bit, you should be able to pull on that cable and then unhook it. I think that is going to be the easiest way to do it. I'm going to try doing that. I'll let you know. In fact, let me see if I can do it on camera. It's not going to be ideal, I know, but in a second I'm going to need to adjust you so you can see on this tripod. I can see what I'm doing. Right. Hopefully this is going to work first time. If it don't, then I'll have to cut back in. But basically what I'm going to do is pull on that whilst trying to get this cable to, you can see the issue, that's the cable right back there, and you've got a housing on the cable which is stick right up to here, so it's a right pain to try and winkle it out. I think I'm going to need to move the camera and get to where you are to try and do it, or let me just see if I can get it to do it. Hang on a second. This out of all the bits on the job, apart from that one spring I had a problem with on the other side that kept going everywhere, this is definitely the hardest bit of the job, to get this bit out. And I haven't worked out a good way of doing it, if that makes sense. I'm going to try getting a pair of mole grips on the end of that so I've got something to grip onto. That, and now I can pull that. See that? Well, that went a lot easier than the other side did. There we go, that is that shoe off. Top banana. Right, now those are both off. I'm going to do the same as I did on the other side, and swap these, the handbrake arm over and the adjuster over onto the new shoes. And then we can start well, I have to give it a clean up, but then we can start the refitting process. So hopefully this side's going to go a damn sight quicker than the other side did. Let's carry on. Right, apologies once again for the tarpaulin rattling around in the background, but as I say, there's not a lot I can do about that. Right, we're going to take off the handbrake lever here. You've got one little circlip, snap ring, whatever you want to call it, there, which just comes off and flies off into oblivion. I've got to go and find that now. Never going to see that again. And then we've got a washer, a big washer this side, and on the other side there was a small washer on the back, but it doesn't appear to be one on this side for some reason, which is interesting. Okay. There was a little small thin washer on the other side in between this piece and the shoe, but there's not one on this side, so unfortunately I can't put one back. It doesn't look like there's ever been one there either, looking at that. I know you can't see it very well in the light, but right, I need to go and retrieve that split pin, and then I'll come back to you. Right, you ain't gonna believe this, I just found that across the other side of the road under Mrs. MEC-TEC's car. I cannot believe out of all the road I managed to find that, so I'm well chuffed, because I never thought I'd see that again. Right, where were we? So I'll give this a little bit of a wipe up. Pretty clean actually. This one on the other side was a bit rusty, and that should just push through that hole. Now on the other side I actually had to file that, which it looks like I'm going to have to do the same thing again. So let me go and file that out slightly, and then we can get that side fitted, and hopefully the other side won't need filing as well. I'll come back to you in a second when I've got that filed out. Right, with that arm in there, I'm giving it a little bit of lubrication, which I need to just wipe the excess of that, because I don't want that getting on the brakes. Got a bit of WD on there. That now is moving nice and free. So now we can put our washer back on, and this flying split pin that I now can't pick up because I've got gloves on for a change. How about that? There we go. I'll try and get this back on here without pinging it across the road again. It's always good. There we go, that's that on there. Now I'm going to give it a slight little tap back the other way, just because it will aid that in being a bit freer. There we go, that's better. Right, so that's your handbrake arm on. We'll now move on to this side, which is the adjuster. Now this one has got a circlip on this side. I'm going to put my hand over it this time so I don't ping it everywhere. Still can't believe I managed to find that in the middle of the street in the rain. Not that I'm trying to pull on the heartstrings or anything, but I am. Things I do for YouTube. Well, not just for YouTube, I know, but it's for me as well. But right, that's that split pin off. There's a little thin washer, which is what should have been on that other one. Just on here, you can see that just moving. It should just fall off of there. A little tap. There we go. So your little washer there. And that's that side free, and then you flip it over, and you've got another one there. And this side is the side with the spring on, so obviously don't let the spring hit you in the face because that'll hurt. Never good. Now it is Friday, whatever that date is, 30th, and this video is due out tonight. So let's hope I can get this done in time and my computer doesn't hang about rendering it, because otherwise it's going to be a bit late, I think. So bear with. Right, there's the other circlip. There's a big washer on this side which holds the spring, and then the spring itself you can see on there. And the easiest way I found to get that off on the other side was to lift it off this post, and it should just sort of gently sort of allow itself to go up. There we go, like that, and that's smacking you in the face. And there you go, there's your spring off. Now we've taken them circlips off, you've got that adjuster there which comes off, and this one comes out with the post on it. So one's got a post attached, one's got the post on the actual shoe itself. Let's give that a little tap out. Gentle persuasion. There we go. And there is a little thin washer on this side as well. So that is your adjuster off. Just get that shoe out of the way. Whoop, not the light. Not ideal. Right. Here's our new one. And there's another little washer there that I've just seen. I wonder what that came off of. I know there was a few of them. Right, okay, let's think about this. So this one's got the washer on it already, so that can go back through that hole. Now chances are that's not going to fit, so I'll have to give that a little bit of a file as well, like I did on the other side. This one, I think, will go on there no problem at all. Yeah, it does, so that's good. Now that's probably got a washer underneath that. So allow that to sort of spin freely. And then this one will have a washer each side of it, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. Right, okay. So I'm going to file this out again. Sorry, you weren't really in shot there, were you? I'm going to file this out again. To make sure that that goes through there easy enough, and then I'll come back to you. Right, I've given this a little file. Now I do find with all of these I've had to give them a little tap through, and then it just goes through no problem. Maybe I haven't filed this one quite enough, because it didn't seem to want to go through then. That's better. Go a little bit more. Don't know why these are so tight, to be honest, but there we go. That's better. That's got it. Put probably too tight now. Why is that so tight? I can only assume it's because before the whole pin was spinning and now the pin's gripped in the shoe. It's not allowing it to move on that pin very easily. Now, I know this is not ideal putting WD-40 on brake shoes, but we are on the back of them, so it should be alright. Okay, let's freed that up nice. Right, let's get that one on. The other one's just fallen off again, but we'll sort that out in a minute. Make sure that this is all gone all the way home. Like that. Right, that's in there. That's in that pin now. So now I can actually tap that back the other way slightly, which will allow it to be a bit freer, because it was rubbing very slightly on the shoe. That's still loose. Just give it a little bit more of a tap back. Rather it be tight on the split pin than I would on the other side, if that makes sense. You don't want the adjuster to get. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, much better. Right, that's nice and free. Now we can get this back on again, it's just fallen off. Put your washer on, put your arm on, make sure that this cutout is on the outside for the spring to go onto. I'm sorry, the view isn't very good under here. Right, we've got our spring here. Give it a little clean up with my gloves. Right, that goes on. How does that go on? That's the wrong way around, I think. No, I can't remember which way around this went now. Pretty sure it was that way around. Goes that way. That goes on there. Can you tell I've not done this before? Why is this not going on how I think it should? Sure it goes on like that. And that goes on there. Like that. Yeah, that's right. Sure that's right. And then you've got the big washer and a little split pin. Where's my pliers? Get it started and then push it on with a, so you get a nice click like that, and that should in theory be spring loaded. Yeah, that's right. I may check my video in a second just to make sure I've got that right, but I think that is how it's supposed to go. So that is the adjuster back on there onto the new shoes. Now all we've got to do is get all the new shoes back on the car. I'll get set up and come back to you. Right, let's see if we can get this back on without any grief this time, because last night when I was doing the other side, you could probably tell by the tone of my voice, I was not particularly happy. Right, first thing I'm going to do is put a little bit of copper grease on these little pads, which is what the actual shoes slide on effectively when they're going in and out. So hang on a little bit. There's a few of these dotted around the place. There's 2 down the bottom there, 1 on each side and 2 at the top, just to aid it from sort of getting stuck. Hopefully that will do the job all right, and the copper grease won't go too sticky. If I can find out, won't we? Right, there's a little dab of that on each one. Now I've got to try and remember which way around this goes, because obviously this way is the other way around to the other side, if that makes sense. Right, handbrake cable first. I think it's going to be the order of the day. Let's see if we can get this back on easier than what I did before. Now what I'm going to do is try the trick of the old mole grips on the end of it again and see if that works, because that seemed to work quite well on when I took it off, and it definitely worked a lot better than the other side. Right, and now I've got to remember it goes that way. So it's because it's around the wrong way, because obviously you're putting the cable in effectively on the wrong side, and then it flips around when it's in there to go on. Right, come on, don't fight me. Oops. See, this is the issue. I've got a lot closer that time than I did before, put it that way. So let's hope. Try that again. The other side probably took me the best part of 3/4 of an hour to get this thing on. So I'm hoping this side's not going to be as long. It's a right pain. Just got to get it in that little gap, and then once you've sort of started, it's all right. Absolute pain, this is. Yes, it's in. I don't believe it. God, if only the other side had gone that easy. Unbelievable. How about that? It's in. Christ for that. Right, so that side obviously goes over to here, you see, that's why it flips round. God, I thought that was going to be an absolute pain like the other side. Right, now I've got to think about what I'm doing, what goes on next. Pretty sure it's the adjuster that goes on, sorry, the bar that goes on next, with the spring with 1 spring in it, if that makes sense. The others have all got 2. This one's only got 1. Hoping you can see that all right in the light. I do apologise for the lighting on this bit of the video. As I say, it's on the drive under a tarpaulin, and it's going to absolutely chuck it down again in a minute, so we'll see. That's why I'm under here. Right, the spring side, the long spring side, goes to the middle bar hole, so that hooks on there like that, and then this one hooks into the shoe. That's the theory anyway. So if you hook that in, you've got to get that. It's a bit of a fiddle, but you can get in there and then hook that round itself. There's probably a really easy way to do this, I don't know, but because I'm going to be openly honest with you, and I've never ever liked drum brakes, and I've never ever been that good at them, which is why I'm forcing myself to do this, because obviously I want to get better, and the only way you learn is if you do it. So right, there we go, that is on there. Now in here there's 2 little cutouts for that cable. At the moment that is sitting on the upper one, it needs to be sitting on the lower one, because the upper one is that other double spring, this one, which goes in there. So I need to obviously flip that down. It's got one big gap with like a sort of cut out in the middle, so you can flip it over from one to the other. I just need to get that so that it goes onto the bottom one. I'm going to do that. Did it on the other side, I can't remember what I did now. I just used a screwdriver and flipped it over. do that before? I wonder if I used pliers. I think I used pliers before. I remember using pliers, but we'll try it. No. That. If I show you what I mean, see it's got two little cutouts and it wants to be in the lower one, so that is what I'm just trying to flip that spring over so it's on the lower one. That's all I'm trying to do. So obviously because it's got quite a bit of tension on it, it's pretty tough. Get a screwdriver under it and just pop it over. Like that. Come on, it's virtually there. Here he goes. That's it. Right, that's that over. Okay. Why is that not playing ball? There we go. Right there. Right, I think the next thing I'm going to do now then is get this shoe actually attached to the backing plate with the little spring and pin. Sort of in. Only just though. That's it. Right, that one's locked in. So that's on the guide at the bottom there. It's on the cylinder at the top. Push it all together. And what have you got? Brakes that don't work. Right. So next job now, obviously, is to get the other shoe on. Now, the bar that I've put in across there goes into this hole on that adjuster. Now the thing I've found with the other side is you've got to try and keep it so the adjuster obviously is wound in enough to get the drum on, but not too much that it flicks past itself and then you can't get it back, which can be a tad tricky. Yep, that just didn't go in. Right, let's try again. This is, because this has obviously got a live axle and this hub is in the way, it's so tricky to get these in. Now, you could take the aft shafts out, but do I really want to be involved with doing that? I'd rather spend a bit longer doing the brakes than I would trying to take the aft shafts out for just for that, you know. So that is why I'm struggling a bit. Maybe any taxi mechanic out there is probably going to say to me, you should do it this way, and you're probably right. Whichever way you do it is a better way, but for me on the driveway, this is what I'm doing. Right, I don't want to take too long on camera trying to get this in. It is a bit of a fiddle. As you can't actually see me doing anything really, it's not ideal. Well, I'm going to try and get this in and I'll come back to you once I've got this other side shoeing, otherwise you're going to be watching me forever. Right, this shoe is now on. The adjuster basically just sort of goes into that gap on the back of the adjuster there. Sorry, the bar goes into the back of the adjuster there and just sort of sits there. And once this shoe has got the retaining spring and clip on it, then obviously that holds it all in place and it can't go anywhere. Now, next thing is this delightful spring here. Now this goes across the top in where I showed you before into that top little cutout, and obviously the same on this side. Now I had mega trouble getting this in on the other side. I can't actually remember what I did now to get it in, because as I say, I've slept since then. So I'm going to do my best to try and do this on camera and not make an idiot of myself, but it might not work. There's no guarantee of it, but because I've done the other side, it might just go in with any luck. The one thing that you do notice is when you push on one side, you want to try and push the other one so that the actual cylinder is all the way in, because otherwise you've got to stretch the spring further than what you need to, if that makes sense. Come on, let's go in. First time, come on, first time. No. But it's too much to ask to go in first time. Now what's happened there is the adjuster has, yeah, the adjuster's wound itself out. Right, I've got all this back to where it should be again to try and get this spring on. Now again, I don't know if it's going to work because drum brakes seem to hate me and I don't like them very much either, so come on. Yes! Ah, second time. Well, that's a turn up for the books. Okay, so last thing now we've got is the little bottom spring, which, let me zoom you out because you're zoomed in. The little bottom spring is very easy to go in. Got two big holes on the bottom here, and you just hook it in. If I remember rightly, this one went in really easy. There you go. Say that now and then it will go ba-doing. There you go. Bottom spring is in. Thank goodness for that. Right, I'm going to go over all this, make sure I've done everything right. I think I have. We need to slacken off that adjuster again slightly, and then hopefully we can get the drum on. And what I want to do is put the drum on and then I'll show you, or you can listen to how it self-adjusts when we push the pedal. Let me move you so I can show you what I'm doing. In now, hopefully you'll be able to see. Hang on a second. In here is what I'm fiddling about with, is this spring, which I showed you before. You basically want to lever it so that, see it go in. So that's pretty much adjusted all the way in now. Probably could go a little bit more. There you go. So that's adjusted all the way in now. So let's see if the drum goes on. I have cleaned all the drum out as well. I haven't actually taken the lip off this drum yet. Maybe a bit of an issue. Yeah, let me go and I want to go and buzz the lip off this drum like I did on the other one, just to aid it going on and off, and then I'll come back to you and we'll show you the drum going on, and I'll let you listen to the self-adjuster clicking up when I push the pedal. Right, as you can see there now, I've gone right around this edge with a belt sander, just taken the very slight edge off of it that was there to allow it to be a lot easier to get the drum on. Let's just show you on here, tilt you up, get that light out of the way. See if this goes on. This is the first attempt of this going on here, so it should be hopefully going on. Yes, this is genuinely the first attempt I've ever got at putting this on here, so come on, what's stopping you? sometimes the shoes are not sitting quite right. There we go. Now I need to jack the back of the cab up a little bit more so that I can spin it easier. 2 seconds, I'm going to go and jack the cab up slightly just because I think it sags slightly. The other wheel's on the ground, which makes it harder to spin. Right, see if this rotates. Yeah, got a slight bit of drag on it, which is fine. So what I'm going to do, put the little screw in that holds it on, and then I found on the other side, I did this up to a point and then gave a drum a little tap to level it out, and then I got a little bit more on it. So I think it's why it was loose before. It just sort of squares it up like that, and you get a little bit more on it, see. Right, now if you stay there, obviously you're going to stay there, I'm going to move you a bit closer, see if you can hear. I'm going to go and push the pedal, see if you can hear the click of the adjuster. Now I don't know whether you heard that or not because I couldn't hear it from around there, but yeah, light bit of drag on it, that should be absolutely fine. Obviously I've got the axle drag on it, which is why it doesn't spin so easily, but that should be, hopefully, job done. So I'm going to get the wheel back on, take it up and down the road a couple of times, make sure it all rolls freely, and then we should be top banana. Thank goodness for that. That's a job I was dreading. Right then, that is going to be it for this episode on MEC-TEC. We've got another job ticked off the list on the old cab, so I've just took it around the block. It all stops okay. It still rolls, most importantly. When you take it out of gear and you take your foot off the brake, they don't lock up or anything like that, so they're all moving as they should. The handbrake isn't quite as good as it was. Now I'm putting that down to new shoes, I should say, bedding in. So I'm not too worried about it at the moment. I'll see how that goes. If it wants any adjustment in the future, then obviously I can take the wheels back off and readjust it. That's no problem at all. So there will be a couple more videos on this. I've got a couple of other jobs to do on it, so they will be coming in the near future. I have got Instagram, MEC_TEC 1985, and I have got Facebook, MEC-TEC, for little sneak peeks during the week of what I'm up to. And all that's left for me to say is thank you very much for watching. Have a very happy new year, and if you want to join me soon for more automotive adventures, I'll see you again next time. Cheers guys.